This program on investing under regulation crowdfunding is not investment advice.
Rising with the crowd, power unbound, change makers lead where hope is found. Superpowers for good, shaping the fate. Investors and dreamers open the gate. Super Crow stands loud, proud and true, building tomorrow for me and you.
Welcome to the Superpowers for Good show from the Super Crowd. I'm your host, Devin Thorpe, and I want to welcome everyone to the show today, but especially our first-time viewers. It's so exciting. We see in the data that our audience is growing rapidly, which means there are new people watching every episode. We're thrilled. Welcome. I encourage you to stick around and watch the entire episode. Every time we do an episode, we have a great change maker on who's making a difference in the world, and oftentimes they're doing something that you can participate in and join and support. This is the place you want to be. Every Tuesday morning at 11 Eastern, 8 Pacific, and Thursday morning as well. Join us for a new episode of the Superpowers for Good show. Today we've got an extraordinary guest, a great change maker, Sarah Hardwick, who has helped companies raise well over $100 million from the crowd. She's one of the few people in the world who can claim to have had her fingerprints all over an offering of that scale. So stick around. You do not want to miss this episode. Sarah, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Devin.
We're just thrilled to have you and appreciate you making the time to be here today. You know, you have done, well, let's be very specific. You worked at Aptera. Aptera has raised, I think now, a total of about $140 million, almost entirely from the crowd. You help manage those campaigns. Your fingerprints are all over them. Tell us a little bit about your career, including, but not just, at Aptera, so we get a sense of the great things that you've done.
Thank you, Devin. I mean, it's been a journey. It actually started back when I was 25. I started my first company as an entrepreneur called Zenzi, a marketing communications firm. And we were actually the world's first values marketing agency. So my belief and my philosophy in running my marketing agency for over 20 years was really around this idea that marketing is so much more than just selling. And, working with big brands such as Nestle and Ghirardelli Chocolate and Chiquita, I saw they had this huge opportunity to create a much deeper connection with their customers than was happening. And so I forged a partnership with San Francisco State University and created a way of measuring and uncovering the values that people really care about, what makes them unique, what motivates them, what drives them, and then created a way to speak directly to those values, which resulted in very successful marketing campaigns. So I ran that company for almost 25 years, sold that in 2021, and that was when I left and started my career as Chief Marketing Officer at Aptera. And that was really a passion project for me. They were a client of my agency, and it was such an exciting and monumental opportunity. I just couldn't say no. So I sold my agency and came on board at Aptera.
That's an amazing ride because, the reality is Aptera is really one of the companies that has raised the most money ever in history under Regulation A+ and Regulation crowdfunding, raising from the crowd. There are very few. Boxable is one of the few others that I'm aware of. And, it is just exciting to see what Aptera is doing, the progress they're making toward launching production of their car. It's very exciting. I'm one of those who has both invested and pre-ordered at Aptera. I'm excited to see this come to fruition. It's very, very exciting. What are some of the secrets to successfully raising from the crowd? How would you guide and coach people who are serious about raising some money from the crowd?
That's a great question. I say, first and foremost, you have to be able to articulate your why. And for investors, for community members, for customers, it's so much more than transactional. In fact, 3/4 of the decisions that we make every single day are based on our emotions, not rational factors. So the first thing to really think about is just, talking about your purpose. And if you haven't, got your executive team together and really articulated that is the first step. So uncovering your purpose and your why, because for all of these most successful campaigns, including Aptera, it was much bigger than just an investment. People joined Aptera because it was a movement, and it was a movement towards solar mobility and a movement towards change. And people were signing up to invest because they wanted to be a part of the future. And so for a lot of companies out there to start to raise crowdfunding, to raise at that level, you have to be able to really be clear on your own why and the purpose and what you're trying to do, how you want to change the world, and then be able to articulate that in a way that resonates with investors. That's one. I have a lot more.
Yeah, I think that's really important. I think too, there is, and I'm not necessarily proud of this reality, but I think it is a reality that we have to acknowledge, and that is overlooked by so many entrepreneurs, and it's underrepresented by the portals. Sometimes they don't want you to know this reality, but the fact is, successful campaigns generally spend some money on advertising, and it's usually not, a token amount. It's real money, isn't it? They typically are spending, I'm guessing 10% would be an average, or maybe a low estimate of the average. What do you think? People are really spending money though when they raise real amounts of capital.
Yeah, absolutely. And 10% is a great number to estimate. I think you want to take into consideration the platform fees, the legal fees, getting everything set up. But as it relates to marketing, I would suggest at a minimum 10%. When you're first getting started, it does take a while to get your ads optimized, to get your funnel set up, to get the messaging right. And because of that, it could actually even be a little bit higher. So you do want to be aware of that and recognize that you do want to have some advertising spend and some dollars to be able to go into that with. However, the beauty of it is that once it gets going and once you start your ads running and it kind of stabilizes, it becomes very predictable. And so you really will understand at a very clear level what is moving the needle, what is getting people to invest, what messages, what content, what imagery, and you can really double down on that and amplify that. So it is an amazing tool to help to market your raise. You do have to invest, but then you definitely, in my experience, you can see the payoffs at a tremendous, tremendous rate.
Yeah. So with a good advertising budget and campaign and efforts, with a little bit of sophistication, not just throwing spaghetti against the wall on a marketing approach, but really getting sophisticated, it seems to me that raising capital becomes, easy is the wrong word. It becomes possible, right? It becomes possible to raise not just $100,000 from your community, but $5 million from the enormous crowd of people that are mission aligned, that have some sense of common purpose with you, right? But that means that if you're paying platform fees and legal fees and accounting fees and marketing, that your $5 million raise might net you $4 or something like that. Is that fair as a way to begin framing?
Absolutely. I think the beauty of it, though, is that this audience, these supporters, these fans, you're not just taking their investment and saying, see you later. You are building a long-term relationship with them, and you're nurturing them, and you're nurturing those relationships so that when you launch a new product, or when you launch another round, or when you start the path of IPO, you have this base that knows you, that believes in you, that wants to follow you. And so the benefits of that, it's far beyond just advertising, and it's a one-time, again, transactional relationship. We really can't think about it like that. We have to look at it as, crowdfunding is a mechanism for community building and to engage your community, to tell them what you believe, and to grow your company. So for sure, you want to kind of take that into consideration, but you also want to look at some of the incredible benefits that can come from a marketing and community building standpoint because of that investment.
Yeah, the reality is this is really important, and it's complicated. You're not going to be able to build a successful crowdfunding campaign and raise $5 million by reading one good blog post, right? That's not going to do it. Even if it's great, even listening to this one episode, probably not sufficient. I'm excited because you're going to be one of the keynote speakers at SuperCrowd LA coming up in just, let's see, from the air date of this episode, it's less than 30 days away. It's coming right up, and people can hear you talk about your expertise along with a whole portfolio, if you will, of other experts, people who've raised millions of dollars from the crowd. So like Jason Fishman is there, the CEO of DNA. He's got the kind of credentials you've got. He's helped people raise over $100 million. Doug Wilmore, the CEO of World Trees, raised over $12 million from the crowd. And many other experts in the field, and practitioners and entrepreneurs, investors. It's going to be a great event. I'm so glad that you'll be there. What excites you most about the opportunity to be face-to-face with entrepreneurs and share your ideas?
I mean, the energy is going to be amazing. I'm so excited. What I'm going to be giving everyone is really a roadmap for how some of the most successful companies, such as Aptera, have tackled community building, the steps that they've taken to get to the point where they are raising not just millions, but hundreds of millions of dollars. And it's a rare kind of phenomenon for that to happen, but there is a path to get you there. And so I'm hoping to share that roadmap, those steps, and really get into some of the nuts and bolts of how companies can make that change and can really grow their audience on their own. So I'm very excited to be there. I love Jason. He's a super cool guy in addition to being really smart, and you're going to have a great lineup, and I'm honored to be a part of it, and I can't wait.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun event. Well, listen, we got to take a quick break now, but when we come back, I'm here. Let me pause. We're here today with the extraordinary Sarah Hardwick, who helped Aptera raise over $100 million and is a genuine career-long marketer who has insights into raising capital from the crowd that few people have. And she's going to be at SuperCrowd LA. We were just talking about that, but she's really the real deal. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk to her about her superpower. You don't want to miss this, so stick around.
Download a free copy of How to Make Money with Impact Crowdfunding, the book Sarah Hanks describes as
a fantastic overview, not just of crowdfunding investing, but of investing in general.
Andrew Savickas raved,
"This book offers unparalleled insights for anyone looking to make a difference."
Scan the QR code to get your copy.
SuperCrowd LA is the must-attend conference for impact investors, social entrepreneurs, and community builders. Learn from experts who've raised millions, including Jason Fishman of DNA, Sarah Hardwick of The Crowd, and Doug Wilmore of World Tree, plus a live pitch with top investment opportunities. Early bird pricing ends soon.
Struggling to raise capital for your business? Unlock the power of the crowd with AI. My free guide, Crowdfunding Made Simple, walks you through every step to success. Get funded smarter, faster. Scan the QR code now for your free download.
Welcome back, everyone. We're having such a great conversation today here on the Superpowers for Good show from the Super Crowd. We've got with us Sarah Hardwick, who is the founder of The Crowd and a former chief marketing officer for Aptera, which raised over $100 million. I mean, she's an amazing human being. We're going to shift gears now to talk to her about her superpower. Stick around. You don't want to miss this. Sarah, you're a big deal. And I am so grateful that you would make time to do the show today. It's just hard for people to fathom. It's hard for me to fathom, as well as I know it, even being an investor in Aptera, that you were able to help them raise over $100 million from the crowd. That is an enormous amount of money. Let me put this in a little perspective. The average crowdfunding raises about $100,000, right? So what you're talking about is having accomplished something that's 1,000 times the average, more than 1,000 times the average. That's incredible, truly outstanding by every measure. What is your superpower?
My superpower is building community and starting movements based on values. So for me, it all comes back to leading with values and to uncovering what really inspires and really motivates people. And that means going beyond demographics. So as a marketer, there's a traditional way we've always done things and looking at customers and looking at people in a way, and I go way beyond that. So my superpower is tapping into values and creating movements that inspire hundreds of thousands of people and raise hundreds of millions of dollars.
That really is an extraordinary superpower, because, it's such, it seems to me to be such a balance between art and science to figure out how one builds real community, to build a movement. And yet you have sort of mastered that balance of art and science. Aptera is a really powerful example. I wonder if you have another example of that story you could share to illustrate your superpower. What do you think?
Sure. I mean, one of my favorite campaigns that I'm currently working on is a company called GeoShip, and they do geodesic homes. And if you haven't seen the types of homes they're building, talk about an industry that is ripe for transformation. GeoShip is really doing some amazing work. And they recently wrapped up a Regulation CF campaign, but like Aptera, they are all about building a movement. And so one of the things that they share in common with Aptera is a very powerful ambassador program. And that is really the key. One of the keys to success is getting your own supporters mobilized to help to drive not only your crowdfunding campaign, but your business forward. So for Aptera, for GeoShip, one of the first things both companies did and really started on was building out a group of people who can be out there when you can't be there because you can't be everywhere because you're a startup, and really kind of being the driving force behind your success. So having that group of people and building out that group, that's something that I have seen GeoShip really do well. And I definitely believe it is part of why they have been so tremendously successful and quickly closed out that Reg CF, and we'll be on to future rounds and bigger rounds coming up ahead.
That is a great example. I appreciate you sharing that. Now, all of us want to be able to, especially in the crowdfunding community, right? We need to understand how to build community better. It is so important to the success of a crowdfunding campaign. It's so incredibly important to the success of any business, really. Even businesses that aren't consumer facing, they have a community. It may be different, it may be smaller, but every business has a community. How can you help us build that community, that movement more successfully? What are some tips you could share in just the next few minutes?
Sure. Well, first and foremost, it's do the research and do your homework. You would be so surprised how many companies come to me and say, I'm ready to launch a campaign. And I say, great. who is your target audience? And they say, well, it's anyone who does XYZ. And they have not done the research on not just the demographics of their company, but what really motivates them. Why did they love you in the first place? And we go through that process of research. We look at reviews and we mine data and we look at your website analytics and we talk to your customers on the phone and we uncover what is it that they are so passionate about. So starting off doing that homework and doing that research and really digging into the data, that's huge. And the next step is understanding how to tell that story. What is the narrative? How do you tell that story in a way that really resonates? So the storytelling part, what does the offering page look like? What does your website say? How is that taking them down that journey? So that next step is really, telling the story and differentiating yourself from, there's lots and lots and lots of campaigns out there, and what is going to make you stand out. So really uncovering what's going to differentiate you, and then moving on to this idea of just starting grassroots. So your ambassadors, your supporters, the people who love you, your current community. It isn't going to be focused about bringing in new people. A lot of it's going to be engaging your current base. So those 3 steps, I think, are a really good start to building a campaign that's going to raise hundreds of millions and building a loyal, lifelong base of supporters for your company.
That's really powerful advice. I really can't thank you enough. Now, as you think about your experience at Aptera in particular, I wonder if we could look back. You mentioned their ambassador program and doing some of these things there. I wonder if you could walk us through some of the tactics they used that were successful in building their community, because they have a passionate, devoted, enthusiastic crowd that is following and supporting their incredible work. Tell us about how they did it.
I mean, I think they feel valued, Devin, honestly. When I first started at Aptera, I was the only marketing person, and I answered all of the emails that came in to info@Aptera. And I started forging those relationships from day one. And when the emails got too much to handle, I put the call out and said, hey, I need help. Would anyone want to volunteer? And any of you out there who are passionate? And that's really how I started the ambassador program. So, really starting from kind of the phase one. And then I think it's just being for Aptera, it was really being focused on creating the content that would illustrate that would tell the story. So when I looked at my marketing budget for the first probably year or so, we had almost no paid ad spend. What we really invested in was content. And I would spend my money on having the camera crews and doing the updates and keeping investors up to speed on what was happening within, because it's a startup and things go up and down and all sorts of things can happen. And so we had to be able to communicate to people, hey, here's where we're at. Here are the challenges. Here's what we're working on. And I found that one of the most successful ways to do that was not necessarily always paying for ads. It was creating our own content and becoming the architect of our own stories.
That is so incredibly important. And I appreciate you sharing that. As we begin to wrap up, I wonder if you would take just a minute and tell people how they can follow you on social media, so they can learn from you. I hate to say on the cheap, but at least so they're getting a little bit of advice. Maybe there's a way to connect with you. If that's allowed, share that. Share people how they can learn more about your business, your services, et cetera, et cetera.
Absolutely. And Devin, honestly, I believe in paying it forward. And there have been so many mentors and supporters who have helped me over the many years that I have been in my career that I'm open to paying it forward as well. So you can follow me on LinkedIn. I often share articles and stories and posts, not only about crowdfunding, but about my personal journey and, being a single mom and wanting to leave a legacy for my son and really, how I balance being an entrepreneur and being a founder, and also, having a meaningful life. So I share a lot that's about crowdfunding, but also about, living with purpose on LinkedIn. You can also visit my website, sarahhardwick.com, my personal website, or jointhecrowd.co. But I would love to connect with anyone, and, making these relationships and adding to my community is what really feeds me and fuels me. So I welcome anyone to reach out to me. I would love to talk to you, and I'd love to help out. And my mission is to change the world. So let's do it together.
I really appreciate you sharing all of that. And I hope the audience will take the time to reach out, to follow you on LinkedIn, and to visit your website to learn more. We've got the URL for your business, The Crowd, on the screen now, jointhecrowd.co. I hope folks will visit that and check it out. But, I think, too, it's relevant for us to just point out quickly that people can learn more about Aptera if they're curious. We've talked a lot about Aptera. Aptera is at aptera.us, and so folks can visit there to learn more about that. We didn't even talk about what that car is. It's it's a super aerodynamic EV that gets solar powered. It's an amazing vehicle, so it's a cool thing. But I'm so grateful, Sarah, that you would make the time for us today. Thank you so much for your great time. We want to wish you every success in helping more entrepreneurs replicate the success of Aptera raising capital from the crowd.
Thank you, Devin. It's been a pleasure.
All righty. Now let's do